Wow, honored to be here. I'm here today to talk to you about the relevance of 3D printing, and more specifically about the relevance of having a 3D printer at home. And my answer has a lot to do with the concept of symbolic value, something we all know as the mysterious force that somehow makes objects become more valuable instead of less valuable over time. Of course, I don't want to deny the great potential of making functional objects with a 3D printer. I mean, the first things I did was, for example, repairing stuff, a fan that broke. Well, someone else had designed a replacement part. I could print it just with the machine that had a broken part, and I could fix it with it. And for me, it triggered the idea that these machines are kind of human, because it was able to repair itself and better itself through its own process. And I started to place a link there, like, can we also make the applications more human? And that's when I started looking at the material that these printers use. I brought one as well. It's essentially a roll with the plastic in a string put around it. But where other people see a string of plastic, I actually see a storyline waiting to unfold. And I'm just going to show you a few of those stories, and of which the first one was actually my first experiment with this. It started with a functional purpose, which I got from my girlfriend. She dug up this old cup from her grandma and said, well, it was valuable to her, but it was missing the lid. It's a sugar cup. And even though I didn't think it was that pretty, I still thought, maybe I can help you out. So I thought of replacing it, but I didn't know the original shape. So, well, let's not make it as it was in a different material. That would be a terrible contrast. It would never come out of the cabinet again. Let's replace this shape with an actual memory. So I just started to think of what I wanted to be reminded about, and our first holiday together came up when we visited the Greek island of Crete. And, well, what of this holiday to remember? Well, the first day we were there, we followed up on a tip to go to Balos Beach. It was supposed to be a very nice piece of beach we could go to with our rental car. However, we quickly figured out that the road there, well, it got bad. And it didn't get worse, it just ended. And we had to go for a couple of miles with this little tiny rental car off the road to end up at a cliff where we still had a half an hour of a hike to go down before we actually ended up at the water. But yeah, we had to admit the people who sent us there were right. It was really an amazing place with golden sands and warm water and almost no one there because no one else reached it. And yeah, it was really when I think back of that experience, the whole holiday comes back to me. So how to translate this back into the lid of a cup? I thought, well, I think other people should also be able to do this, so I'll just make it a few easy steps. I looked up the mountain we were on Google Earth, and I just traced the side view of the mountain and gave that some depth. And then I did the same for the little car we were in, just on a different scale. And I put them together to end up as the lid. So the mountain is actually the lid, and the car is the handle to put it on and off the cup. So now, when we serve the tea, we actually also put a story on the table. And it really works in an interesting way, because it's not that it's such an amazing, beautiful shape, but it's so different from what you're used to that people are going to ask, why is it that shape? And then we get to tell our story. So it was a nice experiment, but I realized that when you're making these abstract notions tangible, it doesn't have to stay in the past. It can also be something more focused on the future. So to have one of your goals, make your goals tangible, that will help you to literally, hold on to them in the long run. So I thought of a goal I had. It has to do with hydration. It's very important, you know. And I try to drink a lot of water, but I keep failing to keep drinking. So what I did here was I put my own head on the bottle. And now every time I see my bottle, I remind myself to be thirsty. And the same thing as with the cup happened. Like when people saw this, they asked me, why is your head on a bottle? And I explained them my goal of drinking more water. And that by verbally explaining my goal over and over, that sort of helps to keep the spirit alive. So it can actually really fortify a goal you wanna reach. Then finally, the third example has more to do with process and the now. So the third element of time, and it's a very personal story actually. About 2.5 years ago, my mom passed away. We lost her to a quick win for cancer, and well, I really miss her, and yeah, especially in the first years, she was constantly on my mind. And then when the moment came close, it was almost 1 year ago that she passed, I wanted to make something for my dad for that day. And usually I do this with written word. But yeah, in the past couple of years, my dad had started sculpting a lot, and I thought, well, it's a perfect opportunity to try to speak his language. I planned to make an object that would fit exactly around her urn, which was on a side table, being very standard up till then, and that's something she definitely wasn't. And for the theme, I decided to go for hands, the theme of hands, because it's something that came up quite often in her final months, like the subtle beauty of people's hands and the broader sense of being touched. But the hard thing with this was that hands are quite difficult to model in 3D. It's a very organic shape. And I thought my CAD skills might not be sufficient for this. But luckily, I was saved by an open source project. I just simply bought a Xbox Kinect, which you can plug into your computer and use as a 3D scanner. So 15 minutes after I did, I had my own hand in 3D. So my girlfriend immediately realized that this was even more beautiful than modeling it from scratch. And she suggested I make a round along the family. So I scanned her hand, my dad's, my brother's, his wife, their kids, and then merged this together into a final embrace, which I made a bit more abstract and had printed at Shapeways. They have access to powder printers. And when at home, when it arrived and I put this around the urn and I took a step back, I really felt something. Like, for me, this was the confirmation that a piece of plastic can be worth so much more than any expensive luxury, as long as you manage to put a part of yourself into it. So I'd say, no matter if you want to make a memory last, or if you want to express who you are, or maybe if you just never want to let go, give your story 3 dimensions, and we'll certainly go far. Thank you.